MVP.
Renters do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that rent's due, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone episode.
No, sir, I got to cut you off. I don't want to see that intro anymore.
Me
I don't want to
neither.
see that dude talking about missing payments and rents due and all that. Dog, you evicted.
Every payment is due. Every payment is overdue. I'm out on the intro. We got.
He's past due. And I'm telling you, I'm not even saying it. We're not giving the spoilers to the segment. I'm not even saying that all this is on him. But I will say this: I myself, other people, we have overrated Jalen Hurts, and I think it is what it is at this point. He's a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback.
Oh my God, guest! I was gonna before you got on. I told Seltzer I had a warning for you. I was gonna tell you. I'm warning you. Do not try to play some Jalen Hurts is still a great quarterback bullshit on tonight's show because he is not.
But I'm not gonna say he's a bad quarterback, but he's definitely not a guy that we like. He is who he is, and I think that I think the outlier is becoming 2022. I think that. We see now a guy that's a decent dude. He's probably a glorified game manager at this point that can win you games.
You almost said that almost said at best. Glorified game manager at best.
No. He can win you games now.
All right, let's save some of the conversation. So for those of you guys listening on the podcast, you don't see obviously the intro when we go live. So we do a video intro. It has Joel Embiid. It's very actually a perfect timing because it's a Bryce Harper home run, which he just hit, another one as well as soon as we went on the air. And it has the Jalen Hurts press conference, which he basically, as we've seen him develop, is just lying about getting better and becoming a better leader. And
I don't think he's lying. I think he believes that, but at the same time, like, you got to do it.
Right. So he's lying.
Put your money where your mouth is. Cash those checks.
Listen, like I said, episode 114 tonight. Obviously, a ton of Eagles talk. Eagles fall in shocking fashion last night, 22-21, the Atlanta Falcons. A game, they seemingly had control of, especially late in the game. I believe there was a point in the game, I think 148 left, where the win percentage for the Falcons was a 0.4% chance of winning the football game. Saquon Barkley obviously drops the third down pass. That could have closed it out. Kirk Cousins leads them down the field. Drake London scores a touchdown, and the Eagles are unable to respond. I think before we get anything, Al, you were the one who was most animated about the loss last night on the text thread on social media today. So let's throw it to you to start, and then we'll build.
Where do you want me? What?
Don't do it.
Where do you want me to begin? This team, Chris, this team is average. This is an average football team that Philadelphia has overrated and overhyped now for the past year plus.
It's not just Philadelphia.
But it's especially Philadelphia because Philadelphia has a little bit of a problem right now. And the problem is a problem that I think is probably a good problem to have. It's not one that we're used to having. We've been enjoying so much success in this city in the last, 7 years or so with the Phillies and with the Sixers and with the Eagles. It's affecting our ability to stay grounded in reality as sports fans. We went from the super pessimistic bunch, always just waiting for the shoe to drop, to the overly optimistic bunch that is just sitting here and taking guys like Jordan Davis and saying that they're all pro, all caliber, all world players when they're not. It's this newfound passion that Philly has for being the most passionate fan base in the world that's making it hard for us to see things objectively. Well, guess what? The Eagles showed their true colors last season with the way they ended that season. And this is the same team. It's like that Scooby-Doo meme where they have the thing over the mask over the villain and they pull the mask off and it says it was you all along. It's the 2024 Eagles all along from the end of last year to the 2023 at the end of last year this year. It's the same team. They're average all over the field. And we already alluded to it. Jalen Hurts does not pass the eye test anymore. He does not go through his progressions. If the first read is not there, he tucks it and runs. And defenses have figured it out. They are all over it. The surprise is no longer there. This team is, the RPO is a disaster, multiple illegal man downfield penalties. I don't know how that's not something that is either going on at practice and they say, all right, scrap it, or it's going on at practice and they fix it before the game instead of trying to use it 3 different times and getting 3 different flags for the same thing. All of a sudden, Britton Covey is Cooper Kupp. I don't understand anything that's going on with this team right now. I know we have a lot more to talk about, but I just wanted to start the episode. We got the jersey guest. Do you see it? The order came in. The fresh Kelly Green Saquon came in today.
Oh, well, that's what happened.
Guess where this is going? Going in the mini closet.
Right into the special guest closet.
That's the abyss.
It's gone. It's gone forever. It's gone at least until they can
look,
show me that I can be proud to wear it again.
I'll still take it if you don't want it.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
All right. So I'm on about 4 hours sleep because I couldn't sleep last night because of how pissed off I was. There's some people who are just stupid and naive and are just going to say, well, it's the second game of the season. It's only the second game. This is not the second game of the season. First of all, every NFL game is an event. Every NFL game matters, number one. Number two, this has been coming on, since last year. This has been since week, 10, 11 of last year. And it's not just the quarterback. And now, unfortunately, I agree with you that Hurts. I mean, it's, you and I spend a lot of time in the classroom, and there's a word that comes up a lot with kids' generation. It's cringe. And when Jalen Hurts when we're on offense and it's a pass play, it's cringe to me. I cringe. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop during the play. And there's something that people aren't really talking about at all. And I'm kind of surprised by it because of how smart of a fan base we all are. If you remember when Jalen Hurts first started starting in 21, and there was a big uproar on social media and everything else. People were showing the all 22 report and all this kind of stuff. And if I remember correctly, he did not have good numbers. In fact, he didn't have really any numbers going to the middle of the field. You remember that?
Yeah, it was last year too.
And you had the diagrams of like the people making stupid memes and this and that. Like, here's Jalen Hurts throws, and it's like 99% from the numbers to the hashes to the sidelines. Nothing's up the middle. Is this dude scared to just chuck it? Like, I mean, are we getting to the point where it's like he doesn't know? Like, to your point, Al, when it comes to reading the field, and he has one progression, one guy he's going to go to, one target, and then it's like it's not even scramble. He doesn't use his legs. He just runs away, like he goes to the sideline.
Yep.
And it's the most maddening thing because if someone did a deep dive and anyone's listening and is bored out of their mind and wants to do this, I would pay cash. Every time he runs or scrambles, whatever you want to call it, to the right side of the field or any side of the field, what happens? The percentage of his completions has got to be under 10%. It's got to be. That's where a lot of his mistakes happen. Or he'll just throw it away. And I'll tell you another thing. The QB option, there was about 3 or 4 times last night, his QB read was off. He made the wrong decision. He was supposed to fake it to Saquon or whoever was in the backfield, game at the time, whoever it was, and throw it probably up the middle to Goddard or Calcaterra, whoever it was in that middle of the field. And each time I've seen it, he just handed it off, and it was a lost play, and that tells me he's not reading the field. Now, when you do that, you're only reading the D line. You're not even reading the field. You're just reading the D line, and he's still screwing it up. So now you're asking him to read down the field, and obviously he's good for a couple great throws, not just good, great throws a game, but that might be 3 or 4 out of 25 or 30, and that's just not going to cut it. And with all that being said, he's not the reason they lost this game. That's for me. He's not even the top 4 reasons why they lost this game. But it's getting to the point where we no longer have the feeling, at least I don't, that we have a quarterback that can overcome those obstacles that we have on this team. And if you're going to be a great leader, okay, then show you're a leader. Because right now, I'm not seeing the leadership that we expected to see from this guy. If you go back on our show 2 years ago, during that season of 2022, and we talked about how much this guy was an elite leader, we got an elite football player, an elite dude on and off the field, and he might be a great guy. He seems like he's a good kid. I'm not saying he's not. But when it comes to being a leader of men, bro, you ain't getting it done right now. And your coach isn't either. And that's the problem. This team has an issue with leadership. And it got worse with Kelsey leaving and retiring. It got worse with Fletcher Cox retiring. And now we don't know who's running the ship here. And it's clear as day that there's issues. I'll pause because I want to hear you guys more. But I still got a lot to say about this.
Starting to feel Wentzian, guest.
Sure. I mean, listen, I don't have a ton to add. We're going to play a few questions that we'll get into here. But me, I mean, I think we can clearly say of the three of us, I was the most pessimistic on this team going into the season. And I think a lot of that becomes the way last season ended. When you collapse the way you collapse, and then for you to come into the offseason and pretty much just blame the offensive and defensive coordinator and move along like nothing happened, that's not the answer. There's more to it than that. There's fragile egos and fragile mentality on this football team, and it reared its head last night. Chris, I've been the toughest of the three of us on Hurts. I thought he played okay last night. Like
he did. He wasn't. We're ripping him because of just being frustrated. But if you, in a vacuum, if you don't support the Eagles and you're just watching as a neutral party, he did not play a bad game.
Correct, overall. But to your point, he only had one throw last night with over 20 yards in the air, and that was the interception at the end of the game. Right. That's the only throw. At the end of the day, I understand he brings a lot to the ground game, and he actually ran the ball better last night than he's run it in a long time. He threw the ball 30 times last night. He had 180 passing yards. That's not acceptable at the NFL level by any means if you want to be an elite football team. So just a quick stat that we can kind of go through, and then we'll get into the blame game. Since the Buffalo win last year in overtime, which was a big win, the Eagles are 2-7. Jalen Hurts has 9 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions, and 5 fumbles as well.
And good for you. You counted the playoff game. I wasn't even going to count the playoff game with those numbers because he's has just as many touchdowns as interceptions. If you don't count the playoff game, he's 8-8.
And I think that, and I alluded to it a little bit in my original statement, this team is lacking leadership. And it starts at the top. And I'll save for who I think is mainly to blame for later on. But I think that off the bat, I'm going to say that there's some not only leadership, I think there's character issues on this defense specifically. Yep. I think that Jalen Carter is becoming a character issue. Yep. I think that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a character issue. I think that Jordan Davis is not a bad character, but as far as a flawed mindset on a football field in his position is an issue. And, Darius Slay is a character issue. He points fingers a lot. Now, I will say last night he did own it and he took self-reflection and said that, he was not happy with his performance at the end of the game, which I commend. But we know how over the summer, things he said and things like that. So that's a little bit of an issue. I'm tired of seeing these guys smiling and laughing when they lose games. And it happened last night again. And, that really pisses me off, especially in a passionate game like football. When you just lost a heartbreaking game in front of your fans, when you just honored your only Super Bowl winning quarterback and you just had a sold-out packed house to start your season, and you lose the way you did, and there's guys out there, hey, man, tough man, that's all right. But, hey, good luck to you. Come on, dude. I'm not saying you got to be a total bozo to the other team and just not shake hands. But there's a difference clearly between being a generous or a non-sore loser and just being a little bit of a clown and not taking it seriously. And there's some guys that I feel like, not just last night, but even since last year, are not taking games that in these performances when they fall short seriously. I don't know if it's the money. I don't know if it's just, again, lack of leadership, but it's clear that there's an issue there. And now we have new coaches. We have a new offense coordinator. We have a new defensive coordinator. And it's still the same issues.
So let's get into the specifics. Before we do that, I just want to say one quick thing, and we don't even need to build on it. I think Atlanta's a lot better than people think. That's all I'll leave it at that.
Their defense is
good.
I thought their offense was going to be good, and their offense hasn't even clicked yet.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave that at that. I want to play who's the most to blame for this. I'll start with this. Listen, in a micro sense, in a vacuum, it's Saquon Barkley because he dropped the football. If he doesn't drop the football, they don't lose the game. But that's not kind of the vibe that we're going with here.
No.
So from the macro sense, you have to start with the D-line. The defensive line has 3 sacks in 2 games, and 2 of them are from Zach Vaughn in the opener. So the D-line has generated 1 sack.
I'll give you even better stat, Seltzer. In the last 6 games they've played, their edge rushers have 0 sacks.
There you go. That's
6 games.
That says it all. And not only that, Chris, not only are they not getting to the quarterback, they also are last in the NFL in rush defense per carry. So they're not even stopping the run.
They're not containing. Those guys, those edge dudes are one-trick ponies trying to get the quarterback, and they can't. So now they're good for nothing on the field.
And so are the linebackers. The linebackers are one-trick ponies because they can't cover. They can't. So you know how you exploit the whole defense.
But the difference.
And one more thing. This is what happens when you keep getting rid of your best pass rushers. When you let Javon Hargrave walk. When you trade Hassan Reddick.
Correct. You're right about that. But they have invested in this position versus the linebacker position. They paid Bryce Huff $17 million a year. They drafted Jalen Carter in the first round. They drafted Jordan Davis in the first round. They drafted Nolan Smith in the first round.
They paid
this
Sweat
is not.
too, didn't they?
Say it again.
I think they paid Sweat too, didn't they?
They paid Josh Sweat. This is not the linebacker position where you can say, well, for whatever reason they don't prioritize this. They've swung and missed 3, 4, maybe 5 times on that defensive line, and there's no answer that's coming out of that locker room right now. Again, Chris, you've said many times Jalen Carter's getting double teamed. He's getting double teamed, and he is. But at the same time, you have to make an impact. We were talking about him being a TJ Watt level type defensive player as one of the best linemen in the game. You're not. Those guys get doubled. Myles Garrett gets doubled. They find a way to impact the game. Aaron Donald got doubled every play in his career, found a way to impact the game. I understand it's his second year. It's the beginning of the second year, but he didn't have a tackle last night.
TJ Watt was getting doubled against the same Falcons O-line last week.
Right. And he produced it. And I get he's a veteran. He's been around. He's better. But he wasn't even in the stat sheet.
Well, first of all, Huff is not a rookie. Huff is a veteran also.
I was talking about Carter.
Oh, well, him too. He's not a rookie at this point. He should still. I'm not giving up on him as far as his potential is concerned.
I agree with you.
I think his partner I have given up on. I think that I have a lot of different negatives on Jordan Davis at this point. I think that he is too. I see this guy smile all the time. I'm tired of seeing his teeth. This he's too damn big to be sitting there every freaking play. Something's going on where he's smiling or laughing or whatever. I'm tired of it. Number one. Number two, he plays too high. He plays too tall. He does not get low enough to get leverage, and that's an issue. All right. And this is now his 3rd year?
3rd year.
And we're still not seeing a difference. The conditioning has also, again, this past summer, they wanted him to get back in better shape. At what point is it where you look yourself in the damn mirror and make these changes for yourself to be a better professional and a better man? At what point do these guys do this?
I saw a tweet said Jordan Davis being in the best shape of his life is the new Ben Simmons offseason. Ben Simmons working on his game offseason tweet.
And that's a great point. And that's what it's becoming. And so I'm out on Jordan Davis at this point. I don't believe Seltzer, I've said this all the time. That 3rd year for any sport, for me, the 3rd year is the year when you find out about the person. And this is his 3rd year, and he looks the same. He is too damn big to be letting guys run past him, all right, and not clogging up those holes. And it's getting frustrating, especially when you combo him with Jalen Carter. Like, you'd think those guys would be like You know, like we had Linval
Causing
Joseph,
havoc.
Comic, and Sue in there. They were both 74 years old apiece,
Yep.
and they were doing a better job in the trenches than Jordan does. Why?
If there's anyone listening right now that has a shred of hope that Jordan Davis is going to pan out or become anything, you're
It's over.
Let us know. Let us know.
There's no look. There's one thing. I was just as hype as anybody was about these last few drafts or how we took all these Georgia Bulldogs. I was just as hype as the next guy. I did mention it. I don't remember if I mentioned it on the show to you in the text to somebody else. The one concern I had, and I think we're seeing it come to fruition, is when you draft all these guys from the same school who saw success together at Georgia. I was worried about A, did they already peak? And B, if they got to the point where they were all playing together in the NFL, were they really going to give a shit about winning? Or was it just going to be, yo, I'm with my boys, we all made it, we're in the NFL, and the work wasn't going to be there anymore because now they're paid. You got to remember, not every professional athlete is there to win, right? Some guys, this is it. This was the pinnacle. Signing that rookie deal, signing that contract, getting that millions of dollars, getting the family out of whatever, you know what I mean, wherever they're at. Like, I was concerned about that, and I think we're seeing it because all of these guys, they're all busts at this point.
And not only that, Al, I agree 1,000% with you. Not only that, you also ask yourself, what are they going to do in the face of adversity? Because they've never faced it in college.
Never faced it.
They've just been used to beating everybody up. And now they're getting beat up a little bit. And they're getting punched in the mouth. And they're getting thrown back. And it's like, are you going to man up and step up and do something about it? Or are you just going to laugh it off like, damn, man, they came today. All right, whatever. Yep. And that's what it looks like they're doing. It looks like, to your point, they're just happy to be there. They're happy to be paid. And what happens, happens.
Yep. So let me tell you who I'm blaming for this game. It's the defense as an entirety, Vic Fangio included. You cannot let the Atlanta Falcons, quarterbacked by anybody, but especially quarterbacked by Kirk Cousins, who just took an absolute beating the week before, lost the game to Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh doesn't even score a touchdown because the defense is constantly in his face. I understand that Pittsburgh might be a top 3 defense in the league. Did we really think Philadelphia was this bad? Did we really think that Vic Fangio was going to be this inept at coordinator that he can't see that he has to just start to send some friggin' pressure when they need to go 80 yards down the field to win the game? This is a situation in which great teams win that game every single time.
Good teams win that game.
You're exactly right, Chris. I don't know about you. I was infuriated when Sirianni decided not to go 4-down territory on that last drive and to kick the field goal. The field goal puts you up by a number that doesn't matter. It puts you up by 6. And the only thing that's going to happen when you're up by 6 is you're potentially going to lose that game. Because if you go into that up by 3 and the Falcons have to start at their own 2-yard line, now what are the Falcons doing? They're not necessarily trying to score that touchdown. They're trying to kick a field goal. So at least at the end of the day, you have a 50-50 shot in overtime, worst case scenario. If you're down by 6, it's all or nothing. You're winning that game or you're losing that game. And with the way the defense performed, I had no faith that they were going to stop Kirk Cousins.
Well, let me add on to that. So here's my issue with it. And I'm more of a conservative football mind when it comes to some of that stuff. But all I want out of my head coach is to be consistent with your mindset. If you're going to go for it on 4th and 6 in the first quarter, when you really can just put points on the board and establish it, then go for it on 4th and 3 at the end of the game when you can put a nail in the hammer. I was more upset about him not kicking the field goal in the first quarter. Again, you're trying to put points on the board at home. Like at some point in the NFL, in this analytics world, 3 points became not enough. Like we just can't take 3 points. Well,
And
guess
fourth
what?
down meant nothing.
Say it again.
And 4th down meant nothing. Like,
Correct.
in other words, the teams are going for a 4th and 4 on their own 40-yard line in the second quarter of games.
Yeah, it's Madden Bowl. The Madden.
So again, but the point is the 3 points would have mattered at the end of the game. That's where I don't understand. Again, so if you're going to be that wheeler and dealer like Dan Campbell in Detroit, he stays with it. He's not going to. He did it in a playoff game last year. It was a crucial situation. This is what we do, and now all of a sudden you're going to get timid and kick the field goal at the end. Again, I support the field goal decision, but that's only because that's the kind of coach that I would be. That's not who I see as Nick Sirianni. And again, we've talked about, from everything that I've heard internally on this team, Nick Sirianni is scared out of his mind of these players, and you can see it on the
You
field.
see it. Yep.
And from what I've heard, also he didn't talk to the team after the game last night. It was a Jalen Hurts who spoke to the locker room and spoke to the players. But from everything I've read, that this coaching staff in particular just lets the players do whatever they want because they're scared of the players. Whatever that means is what I was told.
And the other thing about that is, you got young. I mean, the staff, with the exception of Fangio. I mean, Kellen Moore and Sirianni are both early 40s. They're not much older than some of these guys, and I think that plays a part in it too. The respect factor that some of these players have is a big, right, or lack thereof, is a big issue, and it's clear as day. You could talk about our source. You can talk about that person all you want as far as what they said, whatever. But the truth is, they don't have to tell us squat. We can see it. We can see it. It's clear as day, which is what you want me to tell you my blame.
Hit us with a couple, because we're also going to go into whether players are real or not, and we have a bunch of those guys. But
first of all, let me say I disagree, Al, with you. I understand your point, but I disagree with you because as a coach, I would say if you take that field goal at the end of the game and make it a touchdown game, a 6-point game, they have to score a touchdown, and it's a lot harder to score a touchdown than it is to kick a field goal, especially with
no
timeouts, all that stuff.
If they run it on 3rd and 4th, right, and they don't get it, how much time does Atlanta have left? They have less than 40 seconds.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. So the screw up was on Sirianni calling for the pass play to begin with.
Hold on. Here. Let me jump in here. We're not going. Why all of a sudden? I'm not a Sirianni guy. Why are we blaming Sirianni? He's not calling the plays. Kellen Moore's calling the plays
because he's the head of the.
Second of all, the play worked.
Kellen Moore didn't drop the ball. They didn't get anything out of it. It works when you get something out of it. He didn't get anything out of it. If he catches
the ball, the game's over. He's got to catch the ball.
But now you're looking at the effect. I mean, the result versus the risk. The risk doesn't make sense because the fact of the matter is, if you caught the ball, got the first down, or if you ran the ball and got the first down, it's the same outcome. And when you run it, you're already running the clock with it. There's other issues that come into play when you're passing it. You can face pressure. You can drop a pass. You can fumble a snap. All kind of things are happening that put that risk higher. And that's why for me, that ball should have never been passed. It should have been ran. You got Saquon Barkley, who you're paying, $13 some odd million a year. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry this game, and you only needed 3 yards. And if you wanted to, you could have gave him 2 chances to get it.
You're right about that.
You needed 3 yards.
That's the issue.
I would have ran the ball, but at the end of the day, I think it's the play caller's job to set up a play that would work. And again, from what we've told and what they said after the game, the audible was for Jalen Hurts. If there's nothing there, then you need to go down in bounds and just go down and let the clock run. And it was there.
But listen, you needed 3 yards. You just said, right?
Yep.
On that drive, Saquon Barkley was averaging 3 yards per carry. Just on that drive, he had 18 yards on 6 carries. But I disagree with you that it's not Nick Sirianni's fault and that's Kellen Moore's fault for calling the plays, because at the end of the day, Nick Sirianni is the guy that's saying, hey, we're going to kick this thing on 4th down. He needs to tell Kellen Moore, hey, you got 4 downs here. Because if he tells Kellen Moore that, Kellen Moore might run the ball on 3rd down.
And not only that, if you're going to sit here and sell the fan base that Nick Sirianni is basically a CEO coach, then you know what CEOs do? They oversee everybody underneath them. And the coordinators are underneath them, and he has the authority to say or override whatever he wants to override and say, yo, that call's not going to work. Just run up the middle. Let's just run and get out of here. He didn't do that, and the fear is clear, not only for the players, it's clear that he knows he's overmatched. He knows that these guys are better at what they're doing than he is. He knows he's a lame duck walking back and forth sideline to sideline, not saying anything to anybody, or no one saying anything to him, because what is there to talk about? You ain't doing nothing out here. You're a pawn. You're a puppet. It's clear, which is why my blame is somebody who no one's talking about at all. I've not heard this yet today.
Can I guess?
Jeffrey Lurie.
Ooh,
Jeffrey Lurie is to blame because the 3 of us, if I remember correctly, and a lot of other people in this city and a lot of people in that organization including possibly the GM, was in on letting this dude walk. And Lurie and the upper management did not want that to happen because it would look bad to say, yo, we can't really get rid of a guy that just took us to a Super Bowl the year before. That's not going to up our chances of getting real good head coaches in here in the future because guys talk. All right. And they were afraid to pull that trigger despite the fact that they knew that this locker room didn't give a flying you-know-what about that dude, nor did they respect him. And I'm tired of hearing people say, well, they always talk about him when they're talking in the media. They defend them and this and that because they don't want to look bad. There's no way amongst men in that locker room, amongst each other, amongst your band of brothers, that you're not saying, yo, this dude's a clown, man. I don't even know what he's talking about. And it's clear that that's happening. And for that, to me, Lurie's to blame for any loss we had this year that's caused by questionable coaching because we knew this guy wasn't the dude. And they still kept him in there anyway. And now he's a lame duck and he's a dead man walking, as far as I'm concerned, with this position.
All right, let's go. Here's my last one. Then I'm going to get into whether these guys are overhyped or not. And this one's not going to be popular and really had nothing to do with the game. But can we please get the Kelceys off the TV?
No, see, I like the Kelceys.
Dude, it's overdone. Like, I can't look at the guy anymore. And I like him, too.
That's
He's everywhere.
Such a no-fun seltzer take.
Yeah, that's
dude.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
I think
when the YouTube TV commercial came on, that was the nail in the coffin for me.
I think he's charismatic. I enjoy him. I think he's fresh most of the time when he they talk to him or different, whoever it is that's interviewing him or talking to him. He has great insight. I think his insight is really good, better than Brady's. I'll tell you that much. Speaking of lame ducks, but that's another conversation for another day. And even his brother, what I do have a problem with is Taylor at these games. That's getting old, and not only is it getting old, it's her man. She's gonna go to the game. That's fine. But the whole thing when they show her in the oh my god,
yeah,
like he's one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. He's going to catch a pass. Like it's regular. That's like if he goes to her concert, it's like, oh, she's singing so and so. Hear me? Like she's going to sing it. She's a star. Okay, he's going to catch a ball.
Well, yeah, she doesn't know how to behave. She's never been in this position. She didn't have a childhood. I'm not defending her. I'm just saying, like, every time she reacts to this, it's her living her high school days out. You know what I mean? She's finally dating the captain of the football team, and she's getting to go to the homecoming game. That's what this is. I'm sick of her too, though, dude.
And I like I said, I don't have a problem with her going to the games. I have a problem with the constant stupid, over the top reactions to basic football plays when this guy makes it. It looks really like it's just cornball city to me.
Yeah, sucks for the people in the the press box with her, or we're at the private booth with her because they got to pretend to like, you know what I mean? They got to just like put up with her the whole time, pretend that she's funny, pretend that all this shit because she's her. That sucks. What a nightmare.
All right,
these NFL wives that have been around for years, they got to put up with it.
Yeah. Let's go real or hype, and I have some Eagles players here that we're going to go on, and whether or not we overhype these guys. And a couple of these guys we talked about already, so we don't need to spend a ton of time. But I think we can all agree on that Jalen Hurts, yes, overhyped. I'll say real because I said he's been overhyped since the beginning. So, I still think you were too far on one side of that. I still don't. I think, but I don't know. Like I always ranked him in that tier where, like, again, he's in that third or fourth tier. That's where I've had him.
I think that he's probably somewhere between. So the reason I'm saying this is because, in my opinion, the NFL has a quarterback problem. I went through the league, and I think out of 32 teams, there's 16 teams that have a competent quarterback, and there's 6 teams that have championship caliber quarterbacks. And that's counting him only because he's been the one.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And I think that's a bigger issue that we can talk about on another show. But I think that because of that, he's probably between like 10 and 15 somewhere versus 5 and 10 or 3 and 8.
So if we talk in the tier, and all I'm saying when I list some of these names here is, if it was a straight up trade, you would at least consider it, or it would be an even Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love.
Chris, that was the point I was going to make. Is that it's the putridity? Is that a word?
Ooh, it is now.
The putridness of the quarterbacks in the league I think is what's making us feel like Jalen Hurts is better than he actually is. But I'm just worried that the book is out on him and defenses have figured out how to stop him. And now at this point, he's a middle of the pack quarterback.
When he throws the ball, it looks like he's throwing into the wind.
Yeah, Al, and Al, I don't know if it's the book is out on him as much as it is he can't read everybody else's book.
Yeah, it's a combination of the two. I agree. He looks
That's
like
what it's looking like to me is that he just doesn't know how to break. He doesn't know how to decode defenses.
He looks like he's running in mud wearing Timbs. He's so slow out of the snap.
But all this being said, like he played okay last night.
He did, and even the runs in the fourth quarter when he had some big runs up the middle. My thing is, bro, where is this at throughout the game? Like, why do we have these weird like option plays where he tucks it and runs a yard to horizontally? Like, what is that doing for anybody? It's only risking him getting hurt.
I heard his press conference, and somebody asked him if like what brought the running on tonight, and he said, "Well, some nights you got to turn it on." My man, you were 1-7 at the end of last year. Like,
you got to turn on every night.
Yeah,
he's a champion.
All he does is speak in cliches.
Oh, he's the cliche king.
And that's what I'm saying. And I think I agree. And I think he wants to be that guy that is a leader and that can get guys going. I think he really genuinely wants to be that. I don't think he's a fake. I just think that it doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't look like it resonates with everybody anymore.
And at the end of the day,
because they're like, yo, you're not backing up on the field, and that makes it where it's harder to really get behind you when you're playing the most alpha or sigma position that there is in sports, and you're hyping us up, but you sitting up there and you need to get hyped up your damn self, and you're not doing that.
And
he's also kind of corny, dude. Like he really is a corny guy.
But regardless of that, and also like him and Nick Sirianni have tension. It was in that article. It spelled it out clearly. And I said this on a couple weeks ago. Apparently they fixed it. Guess what? When the season starts and there's adversity, those guys are both walking on eggshells. That's what it is. And there's no such thing as a real relationship when both parties are walking on eggshells trying to please the other party. There's just not.
And I think that it. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead.
Nick Sirianni is obviously a fan. He's a fan before he's a coach.
And I agree. And I think that in the same way that we talk about Embiid as the common denominator for a lot of the Sixers issues that you guys have brought up in the past, and some of it is, you know, I get where you're coming from. Whether I agree or not with it, I get where you're coming from. I think that a lot of that is here with the Eagles as well, where it's like we've had different coordinators now, right, with you as an NFL quarterback, and it's like Kellen Moore's offense has been explosive everywhere he's been. And now you come here and we can't beat the Atlanta Falcons. Like we're struggling to put points up.
Right.
Granted, we didn't have AJ Brown, but if your offense is as good as it's advertised, if your quarterback's as good as it's advertised, you can make it work with Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and that O-line. You can make that work. And as much issues as that defense clearly has that we've already discussed, that offense isn't looking like it's good enough long-term to get over those issues. And I think that last week in that first game, you know, we were lucky to get out of there alive. I mean, Hurts turned the ball over 3 times. He could have turned it over 5 or 6 times.
Yep.
And thankfully it didn't happen. But he protected the ball a lot better this game. I know, Al, you've been kind of like giving some body language like you don't agree that he played a good game. He protected the ball better this game. All right. I know the last play of the interception, he was hit and the whole thing. But even without the being hit, if you look at that play, I don't think it was reaching Devontae regardless. I don't know if it would have overthrown him or whatever, but I don't think that was going to get on the mark anyway. But again, that's what we're talking about, not reading these defenses right. And you didn't need that yet. You still had a little bit of time. You had a timeout left. You didn't need that big play yet. Hero ball. Another thing he's been accused of playing is that hero ball mentality. And I think last night at the end of the game, we saw that when he's running the ball at the end of the game, out of nowhere, we're seeing that.
You guys are saying Jalen Hurts played a good game. They scored 2 touchdowns. You need to do more against the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm not saying he played a good game. I'm saying he was okay. He wasn't the reason they lost the game last
night. That's my point. He was not the reason they lost the game.
All right,
There's a lot of different issues you could go on.
Forward a couple names. Nick Sirianni, we spent enough time on tonight. Next name I have on my list, the top 3 tight end in the NFL, Dallas Goedert.
Overhyped.
So he's another one. He's got to step up. If you look at the game closely, a lot of us, and myself included, there has been times where he's been just not targeted. Last night he wasn't targeted for a reason. He wasn't open. And I think that I don't know if he's getting mentally frustrated because he's on the contract year and he does not seem to be a focal point of this offense or what. There was a play in the early part of the game where the play was it was away from him. It was on the other side, but you're always going to have a head on a swivel when you're in a football game. And he just went through the motions. He didn't even look like he was trying to do anything on that play because he wasn't a part of it. And you could clearly see he was dogging that play. So things like that are getting scary for me with Goddard.
Shout out to Big Frank in the chat. Frank I've known is here, guys, and he
Frankie, Big Frank. I didn't even see what he said. What did he say?
Kellen Moore is the future head coach of the Eagles, according to Frank. Dallas Goedert is overhyped, but I'm interested, Chris, in seeing some of the all 22 because I'm hard pressed to think that there were times where he wasn't open and Hurts just left the pocket too soon and couldn't get it to him or didn't see him. But I think he's overhyped at this point.
The Georgia guys, I think we've already touched on enough. With Carter and Davis, I think we all agree overhyped as well. So that's 4 for 4 that overhyped. CJ Gardner-Johnson, kind of a mixed bag last night. Got burned on the Darnell Mooney touchdown. Comes back, makes the big hit on Bijan Robinson to what we thought was seal the game. Then basically gets away with what should have been a 15-yard penalty. Where are we at on Gardner-Johnson?
I'm honestly out on Gardner-Johnson at this point. I'm just tired of the kid games, man. I'm tired. Like he goes up to what's his name earlier, takes his mouthpiece off of it, he gets punched in the mouth, draws a penalty. But like, what are you even doing it for? Like, what is the point of that? Those kind of antics, especially after you just got embarrassed on the touchdown, where you just couldn't wrap up in open space and you got exploited. You'd think you would kind of be like chilling out in the cut a little bit for the game and just trying to focus on doing your job instead of trying to be an instigator. And it happens every year with this dude. It happened with Detroit last year. It happened with us before this, the first time. Like he character issues. I'm having problems thinking that we can win with these kind of characters in that locker room.
So the difference is there's 2 differences from the first stint of CJ Gardner-Johnson and this stint. First and foremost, you were a dominant winning football team, and winning cures everything in a locker room. Second of all, you had the leadership, whether it was Kelsey or Cox or whoever else was in that locker room for that Super Bowl team to keep that guy in check when needed. And now they are all running the asylum, everybody on that defense, and he's doing whatever he wants. And when you add losing into that, it's just going to make it worse.
Well, you missed one key factor. There was a pass rush. And the pass rush makes the secondary look a lot better when you're hitting the quarterback.
I don't think it's his play that has really been the issue. Yeah, he's gotten beat a couple times.
I do.
But again,
I think he's playing sharp at all.
I'm out on him because I'm out on anybody that was on the field for that game-winning drive by Atlanta. Where was he?
Yeah.
Like where was he? And let's go to his counterpart, the guy everybody loves. Philly loves Ed Reed Blankenship. Oh, he gets one pick. That dude is so slow. He's so overmatched. I'm so sick of him, dude. He didn't make one play last night.
And he was who the scouts and everybody else knew and they thought what he was for a reason.
100%.
He wasn't a highly touted player because of various different reasons. And yeah, he can make a play or two. He's an NFL player. He's not an NFL starter. He's not a guy that you want to be like, our defense is going to include or feature Reed Blankenship as our safety. That's not going to be the ticket. And you're right, Al. I think he does look slow. I think he's very inconsistent at best with tackling. This team is a tackling issue. That's another thing. Yeah. There's guys in there that can't tackle. Again.
Yep.
All right, what does it take? Again, where you look yourself in the mirror and say, I got to be better. Who's doing that?
Yeah, he's garbage.
Let me go to the last one. This is the one that I feel the most hype about. Mr. Howie Roseman. Because I think, to me, outside of the salary cap, where he is this guru and manages to finagle, his talent evaluation needs to be discussed at this point, right? Let's look on the defensive side of the ball. We talked about the investments he's made on the defensive line, right? Jalen Carter, first-round pick. Jordan Davis, first-round pick. Josh Sweat paid. Bryce Huff paid, etc. Getting no production there. The quarterback position, we're not sure on Jalen Hurts. He paid him. Carson Wentz, big-time mistake moving up.
You had to pay Hurts.
You had to.
You had to, correct. I'm not against that, but it's still the talent evaluation alongside of it. Other than that, what has he done? Who has he brought in that he's just been completely correct on?
Let me ask you this. Who's in charge of hiring the linebackers coach and the defensive line coach and the D-backs coach? Because these are guys that's heads need to be on the chopping block, because Howie can only do so much. Yes, we overrated these drafts. Okay. We all admit it at this point, but he's getting what he believes is the best guy. You know what I mean? As far as a rookie goes, at some point, you got to develop this talent. That talent development has not been there. You're telling me all of these guys were just complete, can't hack it in the NFL, but they were able to win national championships at Georgia. I just don't find that to be true. I think there's a couple of these guys just need to start getting coached up, and it's just not happening.
You might be right about that.
I
didn't even mention, I wanted to add Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
Well,
let's
not forget.
That's the bomb.
That's the ultimate. But you can't teach intangibles. You can't teach leaders. You can't teach guys with good work ethic. You can't teach, guys that are willing to have self reflection after games and say, I got to do better. And I don't think a lot of these guys are doing that. And I don't think they've done that at all since, again, last year. It's the same group doing the same things. And so I can't say that. I agree with Al. I think as far as these guys didn't just all of a sudden fall off the planet. I would have probably done the same thing if you told me that I could draft all these guys from Georgia who were a dominant powerhouse team. I would have probably done the same thing of what he did. What I think they should have done, and I don't know if maybe they did behind closed doors and there wasn't any interest. If you're going to get these Georgia guys, then make Kirby Smart the highest paid defensive coordinator in the NFL and bring him into the NFL. That's what I would have done. Have him handle his guys and go really all in for it. These are guys that they know his system. They know his what to expect, his expectations. They know how he handles practices. They know all that kind of stuff that's going to make them his most comfortable and the most ideal fit, seamless transition into the league. And I would hiring coaches is not against the cap. I would have thrown the bank at Kirby Smart to even be the head coach. If it was a thing about him, we damn sure know that our head coach now don't do any head coaching. Bring him in.
Well, we'll see what happens, because if they continue on, look, at the end of the day, they're 1-1, and I'll ask you guys this: who's good in the NFL?
Wait, can I real quick just the draft? The other thing is, I don't know who he would have taken, Howie, over Jordan Davis, over Jalen Carter.
Oh, I do. He should have stayed and took Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton's the only one. He's the only one. The Jalen Carter year, there was no one. If you look at
Carter was the pick. That was the pick.
Carter was the pick.
Right. There was no one picked after him.
And I still would do that.
At the end of the day, Howie is in he's in Jeffrey Lurie's pocket. So he's gonna do what's gonna make Jeff happy, right? Picking these sexy names, that's gonna get the motor running, right? Picking maybe the Peter Skoronskis, what's that gonna do for anybody? Right. But what one guy that got Kellen Moore overhyped as well. It only took me 2 weeks to see this. There's no creativity in this offense. Where's the creativity?
I disagree with that. I think a part of this is because I will die on the hill saying that these guys in the NFL do not play enough preseason snaps. They don't have enough of a tough OTAs and training camp, and it shows. These guys aren't playing real football till week 1 of the season. That's like saying I want to be a firefighter, and you don't train a guy until there's a fire. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have rust. You're going to have problems. You're going to have inconsistency. You're going to have lack of chemistry. You're going to have these things. My problem is it's the same issues that we've had with the other coordinators. That's where I have the issue. But as far as saying Kellen Moore is overrated or whatever, I'm not willing to say that yet. I know one thing. My man loves orbit motions. I seen Devontae and what's his name? All those couple of those guys in orbit motion like 12 times. I haven't seen it in the NFL as much as I saw last night.
Yes, I agree with you with the preseason stuff, but you know as well as I do that you're not going to run an RPO a dozen times when you see that it's not working. And not only is it not working, but you're getting called for a legal man downfield. And second of all, you're not going to take the sixth, seventh best offensive weapon on your team, if you want to call him a weapon, in Britton Covey, and continuously run screens with him. I just don't understand that.
To me, I don't know why they couldn't.
Also, it feels like Brian Johnson's playbook was left in the locker room, and Kellen Moore forgot his at home, and so he just picked that one up and used that one for the game.
Also, third round pick for Jahan Dotson, whiff or what?
Well, it's too early for me.
How is it too early? The guy can't get on the field over Britton Covey. What's that telling you?
Like, he probably doesn't know the full playbook yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's been there for a month.
Well, that's a Kellen Moore problem.
If you trade for a guy mid-season, what do you need, a month for him to get on the field?
Listen, some guys might need longer than others. I don't know. I can't say that yet.
That's a problem.
What I will say that I agree with you in is it doesn't take a lot to know how to do a screen, and you could have given him that package at least over Covey. I don't know why they, I don't know. But we've talked before about why did Washington want to give this kid up so early.
Right.
And especially when they need receivers.
Right.
That's a position of need for them right now. And they gave him up.
The Eagles brought him in. The Eagles are not a team that throws to the third wide receiver. This guy was brought in. If one of the two wide receivers gets hurt, he could step in and be productive. And he couldn't even step on the field over Britton Covey.
Yeah, I'm going to give him. I'll give him a couple. I'll give him till the bye, and then I'll see where we're at. But he's on that track to being like what you just said. But I'll give him some time still. It has not been a ringing endorsement so far for him.
And when's the last time we've had a third receiver with that's had any success?
Jason Avant.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. It's true.
Josh Hoff.
It's frustrating. And I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like the light is a train. My win total's plummeted.
Belichick was loving it. Belichick was loving it.
Oh yeah, he's Jeffrey. Hey, that red phone at 3 a.m. It's about to get picked up because he might be the person that Lori calls up first. But I mean, he's not. I don't know if he's the answer either.
I don't know either. But I just thought it was funny that he was on the broadcast last night.
I just don't know
let's look ahead. It's only week 2.
Yeah,
we got the New Orleans. I guess my question like who's good in the NFL? Dallas looked good, got murdered, right? San Francisco's got issues right now.
That's what I said about the quarterback issues.
It's the Chiefs' world and everybody else.
Even they look. I mean, they listen. You can never. They're the favorites until proven otherwise. But they look okay.
Listen, we talked about the disrespect that this show gave Derek Carr in the beginning of the preseason. And Derek Carr has been the MVP through 2 games.
What do you throw? What did he complete 13 passes the other day?
You know that they've scored points in their last 14 drives.
Wait, is he the MVP or is Darnold the MVP? Guess.
Yeah.
No.
Derek Carr completed 11 passes on Sunday. Get out of here.
Derek, dude, the Saints, like I just said, the Saints have scored at least a field goal or more in the last 14 straight possessions.
All right, let's go in because the Saints are next on the list. They play the Eagles this Sunday. The Eagles will go to New Orleans, which has been a house of horrors for the Philadelphia Eagles
it has.
Over many years. The Eagles are 2.5-point underdogs going in there. What are your thoughts? Go ahead. We'll start with you, Chris.
That's low to me. Right now, I don't – like I said, my win total plummeted for this team. I'm at around 9 wins, 8 or 9 wins. I could see that. I was at 13. And I think they're going to be a mediocre 500 team from what I've seen on Monday night. I don't see it. New Orleans is a house on fire. But with that being said, you just said it. The NFL is nuts. It's wild. Nobody's running away with anything. And this is a perfect game where we're going to all just count the Eagles out. Hurts going to throw 4 touchdowns. Covey's going to have a 60-yard punt return. All kind of wild stuff's going to happen, and we're going to find a way to win this game. I don't believe it's going to happen. I'm picking the Saints to win. I don't think they're going to win the next 2 weeks. For real. I don't think they're going to beat in Tampa either.
Yep. I know. So, we know AJ Brown's out for the foreseeable future. Guys, we're a Saquon Barkley injury away from this being a disaster season. And this is a guy that's only played 2 full seasons. What happens if Saquon misses 4 weeks, 6 weeks? This team is done. So, look, a couple of weeks ago, leading into the Green Bay game, my brother-in-law, Dan, was so disgusted that the three of us all took the Packers in week 1. He said to me at one of Jackson's football games, he said, Al, screw being objective. You have the golden opportunity to just be this unapologetic Philly sports homer and just be over the top, Eagles 48, Packers nothing every time. I said, I can't do that. I understand now why Howard Eskin, why Mikey Miss, why these guys had such long careers in Philadelphia media being absolute grumps. Because guess what? At the end of the day, sometimes you got to be a grump. This team stinks right now. And I am not going to continue to let them make me look like a fool by picking them to win games this season. Last season, we kept thinking, oh, they'll turn it around. What happened? Lost at Seattle, lost at Arizona, lost to the Giants, lost to Tampa Bay. There's no way you're going to catch me predicting a win for this team until Jalen Hurts, the coaching staff, and the front seven on defense show me that they're even the least bit capable and tiny bit better than average. And they haven't shown that now in about a year.
Al, I agree 100% with you. And I think that Andy has been so successful in his career because he knows, and all the coaches that have been successful know, you win in the NFL, any level of football. You win in football in the trenches, O-line and D-line. We're winning in the O-line, but our D-line is pussycats.
Doesn't exist. Saints 27, Eagles 19.
And that's the problem. The problem is nothing else can work on your defense if you're not getting to the and one more thing before I make a prediction, a score prediction. The prevent defense, again, in any level of football, if you're only up a possession, I'm tired of seeing coordinators coach scared and play prevent. Remember when Jim Schwartz would do that stupid ass gatekeeping defense or whatever the hell they would call it?
Yeah.
Where like everybody would line up at the sticks, and they still would get first downs up. It's so stupid, especially when it's one possession. Now, 2 possessions, that's different. But when it's a 1 possession game, anything 8 points or less, please just play defense. There's no need, especially when you know your D line's not getting close to Cousins. If they were putting flags around Cousins, he wouldn't have got a flag pulled.
Yeah, he's not
going to put pressure on him.
He's not going to move either. He can't move.
He's not moving. So you got to blitz them. And they still just were hard-headed and wanted to play coverage. And he was like, cool, that. Thank you. And that was it.
What's your score, guest?
I think this could be an ugly game. 31-10. 31-10 New Orleans.
All right.
Like you said, Seltzer, that's a tough place for us we have not had good success there. And it's not been just like barely losing. We've gotten our doors blown off a few times in there.
Listen, I went into yesterday afternoon thinking that the Eagles were a lock to win in New Orleans this coming week because I only believe that teams in the NFL only go 3-0 if they are either very, very good or they get a really, really lucky schedule. And to be fair, New Orleans did play Carolina week 1, which doesn't really count in all things. But they went out and they were really impressive against Dallas. But I'm still not buying this Saints team. So I think there's the way the Eagles played the end of the game last night really makes this hard to predict this and the Eagles win. But I'm going to take the Eagles this week. Because at the end of the day, I still said I think the Falcons are better than people give credit for. And the Eagles were a Saquon Barkley catch away from this conversation being a hell of a lot more positive than it is now. There would have still been some issues we would have discussed, but we would have been a hell of a lot happier had we just caught that pass.
They would have scored 15 points last night, the Falcons.
I can't keep putting this on Saquon either. We were not only a Saquon catch away, we were a Kirk Cousins sack away.
Listen. I'm just saying that was the play that would have ended the game.
I know.
Saquon's the reason we were in the game to begin with.
I know. Saquon's the closer there, giving up the home run.
Correct.
Right. That's a good analysis.
More than that, he was the starting pitcher that was throwing the entire game and then gave up a 2-run homer in the ninth.
Yeah.
I'll even go far as to say this because I want for this current team, this league or this season, this group, even though a majority of them are from last year still on defense. I want to see if anybody is pissed off about what happened on Monday night. So if they go out there and they do what I just predicted and they get their doors blown off by 3 touchdowns to the Saints, the Eagles will not be in the playoffs this year. I will tell you that right now. That is my bold prediction. If you even want to call it bold, they will not make the playoffs because that tells me there's not any leaders and grown men on that defense that are willing to step up, look themselves in the mirror, and get this job done and correct their wrongs.
I agree. This game will tell a lot about this football team.
If they lose close, we'll see. But if they get beat up, that means to me they don't have nothing inside. They got nothing.
Well, if there last year was any sort of sign, they didn't have much at the end of the year last year. All right, let's go to our best bets for the week. I'll open it up here. I'm going to give you one for Thursday, boys. A little Thursday night action. I'm going to take the New England Patriots getting 6.5 against the New York Jets. From what I've seen so far from the Jets, it seems as though they're taking a little bit more of a conservative route on the offense. As far as, Rodgers is, Chris, you mentioned the term game manager last week. I think they're using Rodgers in a, trying to ease him back in. I don't think they're looking to score a ton of points. New England's defense so far this year has been pretty decent. They probably should be 2-0. They should have beat Seattle. And I think their offense has been good enough, and they're able to kind of control the clock to the point where I think 6.5 points is a little too much, especially on a short week where offenses don't tend to be great anyway. So give me the Patriots. Again, it's an ugly pick this week. I took an L last week, but I was 1-1 technically. Chris, I gave you credit for the Tampa pick. So good one there.
It was there.
So Patriots plus 6.5 on Thursday.
Screenshot my lost parlay that I had. Al, you got one?
Yeah, my best bet for the week is the Lions Cardinals over. It's 52.5. I think the Cardinals offense is electric, and I think the Lions has to wake up sometime.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts?
The silence speaks volumes.
Yeah, the silence does speak volumes.
Stop that.
But the Lions only scored 16 last week. I think they're going to bounce back. Give me the over 52.5.
I'm going to stay in New Orleans. I think the Saints over the Eagles is the best bet. I think you said it was 2.5, right? I think it was.
Yeah, if you're picking 31-10, I mean it's.
Yeah, I think 2.5 is light. I don't trust the balls of this Eagles team to go down there and make a game. I really don't right now, especially what we just saw. I think they're going to go out there with their tail between their legs and get beat up. I really do. Can we short stats for sports betting, like a stock market? Can we short?
Yeah,
it's called the under.
No. Can I bet like that? Can I bet that like in a game like Bryce Huff will have 0 sacks? Can I do that?
The under probably, but it's going to be juiced.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
I want to bet like because if you're exactly going to say instead of like over under a half and you put the under, I don't think this guy. I got to see what his total is for the year. I don't know if he's going to get 6 sacks this year. He hasn't even gotten behind the line of scrimmage.
You can go through the full play-by-play rundown on like Football Reference or an ESPN of the game of both games. And if you search for Bryce Huff's name, the only thing that pops up is when he was the 12th man on the field in South America. That's the only thing that pops up in 2 games. In 2 games.
I want to also give Milton Williams his flowers because that guy is always never mentioned for when he does something well. And I think that he actually has been consistently a consistent player. He's not a big name. He was a 3rd round pick wherever he was. But he's done a good job when he's been in these games. I just want to give him credit. He got the 1 sack that we had last night. All right. I think that he's someone that and that other kid
Thomas Booker.
9
snaps, 2 tackles for loss. Let him play.
Yeah, Booker needs to play a little bit. And I'll say this and I'll be done. In a minute, this town's about to become a Flyers town again.
Whoa.
Because Mitchkov is coming. You guys hate the Sixers.
3 weeks till the season starts. I just looked it up. 3 weeks.
The Eagles are what they are, like we were talking about, and the Phillies will see what they do. But the Flyers clearly have a plan. and that's going to make our former partner happy about me saying that if they even give
it only took a decade,
right? But at least they got the plan in place. And I'm telling you now, if that kid's as good as advertised, we're gonna be talking about them at some point.
Seltzer, who are you more out on, Hurts or Embiid?
Yeah, the hater alert is
yeah, the silence speaks volumes again, my friend. Drop that beat.
Listen, it's Embiid. I have to say I'm like more out on because I was in on Embiid at some point. I don't think I was ever in on Hurts fully. I wasn't. I was in, but like I was my tippy toes were in the water. I didn't Embiid, dude. I dove full force. I called him a mega star.
The guys were the best players in the world.
Who?
Joel.
Yes, but
you can say he's one of the best players in the world. You can't say that Jalen Hurts is a top 3 quarterback.
Correct. I agree with that, which is why the Embiid stuff hurts more because he'll never be able to get it done when it matters.
Yes, we did say Jalen Hurts was a top 3 quarterback, though. After the Super Bowl year, we absolutely had him in the top 3.
But I'm saying at least like that was still debatable nationwide, right? Embiid being a top 3, top 4 player in the league, I don't believe is skill wise is debatable.
And while quarterback is the most important position on a football field, basketball is a game that can be dominated by a guy. You need to have a guy.
Yeah.
And we have one, and it's just never going to work out.
And he'll do it again. He'll be dominant again this year.
Yep, and then he'll get hurt in the playoffs.
We know the movie. We've seen the movie. It's on repeat. We just keep
watching. We'll talk Sixers again. 3 weeks. I just looked it up to the preseason.
We're in like Shutter Island. We're just keeping watching things and just thinking that we're different people that we really aren't.
Did you get season tickets? Did you renew?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm still there. My issue was going to be if they. I like their off season. I like their off season compared to what they had, like what it could have been. We could have ended up with DeMar DeRozan and a bunch of and DeMarcus Morris's and nothing else. I like what they did. I think it was okay. It's worth at least sticking around to see how it plays out.
I'd rather see that new arena in Collegeville than Camden, guest. I'll give you that.
It's going to be in Oaks. Right next to the Oaks Convention Center.
I'll buy some tickets.
I know we're wrapping up. I wanted to open with this, but guest came out guns a-blazing after the intro, so I didn't get a chance to fit this in. I wanted to ask you guys. I want to tell you a quick story and then pose a question to you guys. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. So Jackson had a football game this past weekend. They won 2-0. He had 1 target, 1 reception for about 8 yards. Great jumping catch.
Saw the video.
He comes home, goes over his buddy's house to have a catch to play in the backyard. He ends up breaking his finger, breaks his pinky. So today he had to go get a hard cast on the whole 9. This leads me to a question for you guys. What are some of the biggest days where you're an absolute stud at school when you're in elementary school? Because he went into school with that brand new cast and that Sharpie in hand. And everybody, as soon as he walked in, Jackson, what happened? Let me sign it. He came home beaming from ear to ear with like 20 signatures on his cast, dude. What are some other days when you go to school, you're an absolute stud?
That's a big one, but here's the number one. And we're talking like 3rd grade-ish, 4th grade-ish. When you go in late and you bring McDonald's for lunch. That's number one.
Yeah.
It was like, oh!
Yeah.
Chris brought McDonald's. He got the chicken nuggets.
I think I don't know. I remember when probably when I peaked, but in kindergarten, when I took my test for IHM, and I came back to my kindergarten because I didn't go there for kindergarten, and I came back to kindergarten, and everybody knew I was like the only one that was taking a test to go to a private school, and they were like, "Yo, how'd you do that?" And it was a big thing. And something like that, maybe, or if you're taking a test to go to like a private, the prep or something like that, if you're in middle school and you're going to, for your high school placement or something like that, I guess maybe it would be one.
I would say,
I don't know, I'm a teacher. I'm thinking academics.
Yeah. I think older, new shoes, like new clothes,
new haircut.
Oh, the haircut's a big one.
Yeah.
Yep. When you get back from vacation and you got some sort of change like that you bring with you, like for the girls, you might have a braid or you might have a henna tattoo. For guests, you might have the puka shell necklace. You get back from a trip to the beach, right? the day if you have a parent in school volunteering, like your mom or your dad is there.
I would have never, none of that. No.
Oh, that's a day. And then the last one I had was when you're the new kid and you reveal some secret talent that you have. Like you come and you ain't shit, but then all of a sudden, like you bust out that you can just like jam out on the piano, or you can
He nice.
50 push-ups or something.
I will say when I was going to 8th grade that summer, because we played baseball and everything else every day, and I lost like 20 pounds. And I remember the first day of school, and everybody was like, "Yeah, your buddy make no more sense." And that was a big thing for me. Even the teachers were like, "Wow, you look great." And that was a big thing. So maybe I guess if you lost a lot of weight, or if you're growing into your body when you're going through puberty, you get your first beard.
Yeah,
that could be something.
That's the opposite of bringing McDonald's with you to school.
Yeah.
Everybody eating that meat though. They still eating that meat. You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully the Eagles will have something cool to bring to the table this Sunday. We'll have to find out against the New Orleans Saints. But Phillies win, Dodgers lose. Looking more and more like the Phillies will be the 1 seed in the playoffs. So stay tuned for some of that. But until next week, we will drop that beat.
And no